trade. So I'm super excited to be a part of this camp. I tell everyone that I can that in every engagement that I'm a part of, there is always a call for more Black and Brown data scientists. So extremely excited to get our babies interested in data science and pairing it with some of their passions. My specialization is in disparities of vulnerable populations. So looking forward to learning more about you and sharing some of my experience with all the kids.
Awesome. And Maya, would you like to go next?
Hi, hello everyone. I apologize for not being able to cut my camera on, my name is Maya Hamer. I'm currently a data wrangler at John Deere along with Tony, but I'm also in school, so I'm currently pursuing 2 masters in information science as well as business admin. And then I also serve on the student board at Duke University, and I'm also a Stanford fellow. Very much interested in data science. That's kind of like my bread and butter, and very, very much interested in kind of getting more people into this field. I think is extremely important. And I absolutely love what I do every day. So I definitely want to, make that path, that career path available to as many people as possible. Because again, I truly love my job. I truly love, my day-to-day activities. And I think these are some really cool skills that we're going to be teaching. So I'm very excited about this camp.
All right. And I don't know if John is on or not. He may not be on yet. I don't see he's not in here yet. But when he joins, we'll give him a chance to introduce himself as well. So just to kind of set the tone a little bit, I am going to share a screen, and this is what I'm going to be sending out a little later after we've gone over a few things. I'll send this out later tonight. But basically, just a little bit of a background. T.R.E.N.D.S is going to focus on exploring data science for cultural responsibility. And for those of you on the call, I don't know everybody's familiarity with NSBE, but the NSBE mission is definitely aligning with this. And our mission is to increase the number of culturally responsible Black engineers who excel academically, succeed professionally, and positively impact the community. And from that angle, we want to introduce data as a science. In our community, we don't necessarily have access and exposure to this. And just want to make sure people understand how important this is and how we do have a gap, with diversity in this area of science. And because of that gap, the ramifications for that are huge. For example, clinical research, just not maybe having, the right lens for cultural responsibility in clinical research, that could affect the types of medication that we have access to, or the effectiveness of medicine on us. I mean, if we're not in the trials and we don't have the right lens from the scientists that's looking at that, that could affect our health and our ability to be able to heal. Also, just in getting a loan or a mortgage for your home, or getting your zip code could change, the interest rate that you pay. It could change, whether or not you have access to a certain type of education. So data is definitely something that influences our lives on a daily basis. And just for a quick, sample, I would like to ask you to put in the chat, can you think of maybe 1 or 2 ways that you have interacted with data even today? Like, from the time that you woke up until the time that you came to this meeting. Maybe you have been on a cell phone, or you've been on a computer, or you've purchased something from a store. And anytime you make a purchase, that's a data point. Maybe you had a conversation and then you look at your phone and you see that that's showing up on your Facebook feed now. So just kind of take a few moments to think about how data has been a part of your life just today. And let me see what we have in the chat. All right, and I know that I see some stuff coming in. Yep, so Imani says she's doing some research on electrical engineering today. So she's looking, just having to go Google and use the internet. You're definitely pulling in different search engines to see what's out there. So Right. Social media. Yep. Things are coming in. Health records. Exactly. These are all good points. Your grades, if you're in school, your grades are a data point that would definitely be used to kind of make decisions about financial aid, you know, where you may potentially go to school. Yep. All right. I see you guys are warming up and you're thinking on the right track now. Awesome. So this particular camp is funded by the National Institute of Health in the Aim Ahead program, and it's aimed at data science that will close the health disparities in the African American community. I would say minority, I won't just say African American community, but that is what this particular camp is focusing on. However, the concepts that we utilize can be applied in a variety of functions and disciplines. It doesn't necessarily just have to be in health, but for this particular camp and this cohort of it, you'll see here, I have some background information about that on the site, and I'll be sending this out to you all later tonight. But basically, it talks about the background, why this is important, and it is definitely an opportunity for job placement. And I even know companies that are going to be doing apprenticeships. They already are doing it. So you could potentially, if you're in middle school now, you know, high school, you could potentially be having an apprenticeship in this area. Or if you're in high school now and you will be going off to college, you could potentially be having an internship with this skill set. I can think of a number of students who applied to positions at my own company, John Deere, in this area. So it is definitely a skill set that we want to make sure we're growing and utilizing. The camp dates are July the 24th through August the 6th. After tonight, those who have registered will receive an email. If you haven't registered officially, we definitely want to make sure you put your email address in the chat so I can send this out to you. But we will ask you to complete a registration form that just has kind of basic profile information. This is for middle and high school students. The camp dates are July 24th through August the 6th. On the 24th, there will be an orientation, and I'll bring the schedule up in a moment, but the camp activities are virtual, and it's on in the evenings on Tuesdays and Thursdays and Saturdays during this window. And there may be some opportunities for us to have some additional time and interaction if students need that. And we will have an evaluation of skill sets. So don't be worried about whether or not you feel like you know enough or you've done enough, or you may have some reservations because maybe you didn't do as good as you wanted to do in your last math class or science class. Don't worry about that. We want you to participate because you're interested in learning and exploring and positioning yourself for a bright future. Some of the items that we will want to provide at some point will be supplemental material. We will use a platform called Data Camp. We will also use Google Classroom, and there could be some other ones that we haven't mentioned here. But for the most part, we'll want to know what kind of device you have access to for the camp. And if you have any, concerns about, your device and what you're going to be utilizing, you want to make sure everyone has equal access to do well. And then also on the site, I just provided a few other useful links. Just kind of gives you a little tidbit about Blacks in data science. And that's something you hear a lot about, are Blacks who work in artificial intelligence and who also are current or prior past. I know you've heard of the Hidden Figures. They were actually some of our early data scientists. They were human computers. They was doing this type of work manually. They were calculating the trajectory for a rocket into space. So they were definitely leveraging analytical tools to predict the path of the rocket for our first astronauts. All right, I'm just going to pause for a moment just to see if there are any questions from parents or students, and then we'll talk a little bit more. Any specific questions on anything so far? Okay. I would also like to know just a little bit about who is on the call. So, and you're welcome to come on camera if you like. So I'm just gonna kind of reach out just so we'll get to know who's interested. And I'm just gonna look at our list over here, our chat. I'm gonna start with Erica McMillan. Erica, do you want to just kind of talk about your interests? Is this for just kind of just let you share your interest in coming tonight and what you have questions on?
All right. Hello, good evening, everyone. My name is Erica McMillan, and I'm on because I have two children, a rising 8th grader, a daughter, and a rising 10th grader who's a son. And I just understand and recognize the importance of us being represented in this area. You know, both of my children, you know, do well academically. Neither one of them have a strong interest in science or math per se. But, you know, back in the day, I actually was a part of a program, and it actually still exists. It's called MSEN.
Yep.
MSEN, yeah. And it was just a valuable experience in general. And so I just recognize the importance of having such an experience and just that exposure and, you know, opening up their eyes to some things that they might not even realize that they are interested in. And so I thought that it was important for me to find out more and see if this could be a good opportunity for them.
Excellent, Erica.
So
you're excellent. You're right on point. I mean, sometimes you need a nudge to know what may interest you. So I appreciate you coming out. And I want to make sure that I have your email in the chat if I don't already have it. Did you get this through the Eventbrite? And if not, then I want to just make sure you put your email address in the chat so I can make sure you get the follow-up information.
Okay, I'll do.
Awesome.
Thank you.
All right. Let me see. And I'm going to, if I already know you, I'm going to skip you and go to people who I don't know just yet. How about Sheila Littlejohn? If you're able to, Sheila, share. You're on mute, Sheila.
You're on mute, Ma.
Oh, that's Ayana's.
I gave that away.
Yes, my name is Sheila Littlejohn, and I'm the mother of Ayana Ferguson, as you now know, you know. But I mentor two rising sophomores.
Okay.
They're twin girls.
Okay.
From Africa.
Awesome.
And they perform strongly in mathematics. And as a mathematician myself, I want to make them aware of all the great opportunities there are in the field of mathematics and statistics, statistical analysis, and data science. So I'm here to gather information so that I can share with them. And I'm excited about them being part of this camp.
Wonderful. Excellent. Now, are they in the Raleigh area? Where are they?
Yes, they are.
Okay.
Yes, they are.
All right. Awesome. We like to have Ms. NSBE Virginia members too. So
that's great.
I didn't put that plug out there yet, but if someone is on and they are representing, you know, like as you said, you're tutoring them, but if you're representing your child or relative or someone else you're advocating, if they're not a member of NSBE Virginia, we would like for them to become one, because we have programming like this throughout the year, and there'll be other opportunities, potential for scholarships, and just, you know, it puts them on a path for staying connected with STEM, and they can continue to develop and evolve that growth. So thank you for coming. Looking forward to have you participate.
Thank you.
Awesome. All right. And I'm going to ask Sean. I kind of know Sean, but I want Sean to, if he wants to share anything. I don't know, Sean, if your daughter is on as well or nearby, if she could make it, but just kind of tell us a little bit about her STEM interests, if you have that, or where she is with STEM and what we may be able to help out with. Okay, Sean may not be in a place where he can speak at the moment.
My hair was having some technical difficulties.
No problem.
But my name is Malia. I'm 17. I'm a rising senior, and I'm interested in the health field. So I thought this would be something cool to broaden my exposure to different things.
Definitely. Yes, definitely. Glad to have you. When you say interest in the health field, do you have an idea of you want to you want to be a nurse, or you want to be in the life sciences?
I
like
want to
in the
be an
clinical side?
obstetrician.
Awesome. You already know exactly. So yeah, this will definitely be right up your alley, because this is the kind of information that you would need to make decisions on treating patients and leveraging it to help people improve their health. So definitely. And hopefully you find out something insightful that would kind of prick you to solve a problem, further in life. You'll be able to like use what you've learned here to kind of figure out where you want to focus in that area as well.
Thank you.
Wonderful. All right. Let me see. Anybody else who maybe hasn't said anything yet? How about Imani and Daniel? These are siblings. Either you want to share anything about what you're hoping to get out of this or what you're interested in here?
Yeah, so hi, Dr. Tony. I'm on the road right now, but
Okay.
for me, I've been interested in STEM, I guess, my whole life. I was introduced by my mom, I would say, when I was
Okay.
really young. And I've always, as long as I could remember, I've always wanted to be some type of engineer. In the last few years, I've focused like on what kind of engineer I wanted to be, which is software engineer.
Okay.
And my last year in school, I took like a computer science course, and this year I'm taking another one. And that's like, I guess, one of my things I'm working towards. And I thought that this would be like a good opportunity to gain more knowledge and information about just technology in general. And I guess if I wanted to be a data scientist in the future, this would be a great opportunity for me. So yeah.
Excellent. And let me just kind of make this disclaimer too. Even if you decide, you know what, I'm not going to be a data scientist, but I want to understand how to utilize and analyze data. This is a language. This is a skill set. This is like learning how to use Word or Excel. At one time that was a big deal, but now that's like, okay, well, now you have to take that further. So this is like learning a new proficiency, whether you decide to go all the way focused in this track, or you decide that, hey, I want to learn how to use data, but I want my area of interest to, be specifically in factory and operations, or maybe it's going to be in quality, or maybe it's going to be in the healthcare field, or maybe it's going to be in aerospace. You can definitely use this proficiency in any field you decide to go into. Maybe you want to teach. You can definitely utilize it. It will not hurt you to have this ability for insight and leverage it to help you make decisions on what's the best way to solve a problem, or what's the best way to identify an opportunity. All right, I'm gonna stop and kind of switch gears a little bit. And I'm gonna ask Ayana, Amaya, if they want to just talk a little bit about what the day-to-day looks like for the camp, and share a little bit about what you should expect to gain, and what you should expect your experience to look like.
Sure, I'll kick us off, and Maya, if I forget something, feel free to jump in.
No problem.
So the camp is a 2-week-long camp, and we'll send all the additional information. It won't be every day that your students will be meeting. There'll be some breaks in between. So I know everybody's got activities going on during the summer. So trying to allow for some planning for other activities as well. The camp times will be in the evenings, and what camp will look like is we'll start camp off with a speaker. So we'll start with a speaker geared towards responsible AI, so that the students learn that as they're developing algorithms and developing analysis and learning these tools, they're learning about the responsibility about the work that they do. So they're making sure that things that they're building are not just adequate from an accuracy perspective, but from an equity standpoint as well. Because we know that a lot of the things that are being built aren't just built for the majority, but they impact us as well. So making sure that we have the metrics and the mitigation in place to make sure that, you know, decisions that are made are fair to all. So after we have a speaker, then we'll jump into this tool. I think maybe Tony may have mentioned, called Data Camp. And inside Data Camp, we're going to allow the students to follow along as they learn about how to query data with SQL, how to build out different analyses with Python or R. And then also, you know, you've built all these analysis, but you've got to be able to communicate it. So they'll also learn how to visualize and communicate the things that they are finding. And so every day that they'll meet, there'll be a speaker, they'll learn something, but after they have learned either the analysis or the visualization, we're also going to host a one-on-one, I guess, office hours at the end of the day, so that students have the opportunity to touch base with one of the lead instructors if there's any of the material that they are uncertain of, or maybe they want to take it a step further and want to see some work that we have done to see what they can do on their own. And then at the end of the camp, after they have learned how to code, after they've learned how to visualize their analysis, we're going to release them into the wild and allow them to create and present a project of their own, in which we will definitely want parents and guardians to join to be there for their presentations. Maya, did I miss anything, Tony?
That was absolutely perfect. That's exactly what the camp is going to be. Only thing I would just add is we're also going to be talking a lot about just a new way of thinking. So I always, when people like ask me what I do every day, I say I solve puzzles for a living, which is essentially what I do. I get metrics and then I write code to sort of produce that result. And I personally love escape rooms. I don't know if anyone's ever done an escape room, but that's my favorite thing to do in my pastime, is to solve puzzles and kind of like get out of the room. And data science is a relatively new field. And I think it's so important, like as Tony said before, it'll be so helpful to you in whatever career path that you possibly choose, because what we're doing here is problem solving. You're essentially being a detective. You're coming up with your own insights. You're making the conclusions. We're going to teach you how to wrangle the data, and then we're going to give you the opportunity to explore that data to your own right and come to your own conclusion and then present that insight. And that's a skill that you can take to any job, to any pathway that you would want. And if you do also want to come into data science and go down that path, you know, we'll be bringing in some data scientists who are already working. They can tell you kind of like about, you know, what they love about their job, how they got to their job, you know, what like classes maybe they took in college or how they landed there. I'll even tell you, I started off as a theater person. So my undergraduate degree was actually in a Bachelor of Fine Arts in acting. And I did a bit of a pivot when I went to grad school, and I was so concerned, I was so worried about, you know, learning how to code and all these different things. And once I got into the program and I started learning just one language, that's all it took, was one language, was Python. And once you learn one, the rest comes so easily, and you can switch and to R, you can switch to Scala. It's just about kind of getting over that. I had like an initial fear of like, oh, I don't know if I can code. And then once you like dive into it, it's absolutely wonderful. It's extremely fun. It's extremely helpful. And I think it's going to be a really fun time. And I'm just excited to kind of like share the languages that we know, share the languages that they know, and give you guys a chance to, you know, really come up with some really cool projects at the end. Did I miss anything?
No, love it. One thing I also mentioned too is we definitely encourage students to spend some of the one-on-one office hours to talk to us about what they're interested in, because you may not know how data science can be a part of that. I've had a couple students who are interested in more of like producing makeup, different types of makeup. And there is a young lady who actually created an app with some data analytics in which you can take a picture of yourself and you can see what makeup will match your face the best. So there's always a way to tie in analytics into some of your interests. For those of you all who are athletes, there's apps now that allow you to, you know, look at how your formation and whatever your sport is, to see what is the optimal training for the sport that you're participating in. So there's just so many ways to implement math, statistics, data science, analytics into what your passions already are. And so we definitely encourage you to share that with us as well.
And real quick, I'm just going to share the schedule. We'll definitely send this out as well. We'll send you a packet with all the applicable documents, but just so you can kind of get a glimpse of it. We will have an orientation. We'll have some orientation sessions that you can sign up for on Sunday, the 24th of July. And we, as you see, there's some days off here, as we mentioned earlier. So you can have some time to kind of like do other things, as well as fit this in and make up any missed time if you have to miss a session. But we want to make sure you stay on pace. We'll be able to get office hours in there. And this is what the final week. So this will be a lot to do in the 2 weeks, but we want to at least at a minimum introduce you to this, plant that seed, and give you some tools to continue to grow it and nurture it outside of this camp. And you will find this out too, and maybe you're already noticing this in school, that learning is becoming more asynchronous. I know people who have just gone off on their own and gotten certifications and learned the skill set just purely on YouTube, or just taking certifications that they saw online. And the work world is becoming a lot more, I would say, accepting of that, and leveraging that skill set to be able to learn on your own and be comfortable with teaching yourself via tools that you're provided. So we want to kind of give you a little introduction to that, because being able to navigate in that way would definitely be helpful for you in your future. It's not the only way, but definitely helpful to help us make sure we're staying pace with what's most relevant in technology, what's most relevant in the things that we need to do to be competitive in academia and in our job markets. All right, so I'm going to pause for a moment to see if there are any questions from any of the students. I know parents spoke and advocates spoke, but any of the students, and if I missed a parent that wants to say anything that has joined since we last had that time, feel free to do so now. I also mentioned that we will have some volunteer opportunities and even some staffing opportunities that will be on the registration site as well. So for example, maybe this is a skill set you want to develop and you're interested in volunteering, like maybe you've already graduated high school and you want to just participate to learn. This is a great resume builder. You have access to highly skilled professionals all in one place at the same time for 2 weeks. It's not something that happens often for free. I'll just say that. And I would encourage you to take advantage of this access. It is hard to actually find Black professionals with the skill set. And then also it's hard to access them. So if you are in college or you're going to college and this is an area where, you know, you heard a lot about it, it's kind of ambiguous to you, and you want like a welcoming environment for you to be able to understand it better, I would encourage you to volunteer. Now, if you've already worked in this space or you've tutored or you have some skill sets that you feel would be able to kind of like credential you to take on more and actually be a junior instructor, please let me know that. We do have 4 positions where we're going to be hiring some junior instructors to help navigate and make sure that our students, our participants, are getting the most out of the experience. So if you feel that you're able to do that and you want to talk more about that, definitely reach out to me and we will discuss it further. All right. And the last thing I want to do is something kind of fun. I didn't do this yesterday, but I thought about it afterwards. If there was a world problem that you could solve, put that in the chat. I want to see how data could help us solve it. If that was a word, oh yeah, I think that one, Ms. Littlejohn and I are thinking alike. Okay, there's a world problem you could solve. Put that in the chat. That's a good one, Daniel. These are all great, great answers. Yep, and they're still coming in. So as these answers are coming, these answers are coming in, I'm going to lean to Ayana and Maya to kind of just help us brainstorm a little bit on what data would we need? Where could we start? For example, gun control. I kind of have had this conversation myself with some colleagues, like, is there information that we could collect at the time that people purchase? Do we need to know prior history about them medically or any criminal past?
You know, I was actually talking to my mom about this too, because in data science, you can actually do cluster models. And what you're looking at is behavior. And I personally wonder for gun control if we could use data to essentially identify the type of behavior of the people who are, you know, committing these acts of violence, who are participating in this, like, you know, heinous crimes. I see that a lot of the time it takes a long time to get to, like, it's afterwards. We're always catching up, but you can use data science, I believe personally, to really find the behavior and find the person possibly before they even commit any of these types of things. And with that, you're going to be looking at demographics, you're going to be looking at past crimes, you're going to be using all of that information. It's like a detective case, essentially, trying to catch the killer before he kills, essentially.
Yep. I totally agree with that.
Yeah, I definitely agree. The one thing I'll say to that is, and of course, I'm going to bring the responsibility part into this.
Right.
It gets tricky with our populations because we are a minority, not a minority and being less than, but a number minority.
Right.
So once you start looking at demographics, you start getting into some privacy issues because you're identifying very specific people in certain areas. Additionally, a lot of the algorithms that get developed, so for what you just said, Maya, where we develop something, right, they have bias, but also like a clustering methodology, someone might use that for something else that wasn't intended to be used for. So there's just so many things that we have to take into consideration to take care of generations to come while we're developing these algorithms.
Exactly. And it's kind of like why you have to have that responsibility up front. It's like why we kind of want to make this type of camp is we want to teach you the skills and then we want to teach you how to be responsible with it. So even like me and Ayana just pairing right that, having a conversation in that room, if you're not in the room, those conversations don't happen. So people who are creating the algorithms that are used to track right now, maybe they're not thinking, you know, necessarily, they're thinking of their own background. They're not thinking of every single person's background. But if we train the right people and get them into the right rooms, we can curb bias in algorithms that are happening every single day.
I love it. I love it. And also to that note, when we're talking about gun control, it seems that from the most recent, I can pretty much say all of these mass shootings, it was not a surprise. People said, oh yeah, this person did this and I recognize this. And it, like you said, Maya, there were common behaviors and maybe potentially if that can be tracked, it could be tempered and we could influence them to not to act out. Like maybe there's a way to intervene. So the
even
hope
if
would
you
be
want
to
to
intervene.
go as simple to just purchasing, just use those behaviors to adjust the criteria that it takes to buy a gun, I would say.
Right. Exactly. Awesome. I love it. Okay, what else? And I'll let you all, you can just kind of look at the list and if you see one there in the chat that you want to kind of flush out like that. Right, we said the thought here is that we can leverage data to help us solve world problems.
Yeah, when I was very interested in, someone said homelessness.
Yeah.
I definitely would. I know, and I recently went to San Francisco. The homeless population was just out of control, absolutely out of control, and that's all over the world. But I do wonder, you know, how data science could be used to kind of help with that particular situation, even if it's just sort of like gathering all resources into one location. That's more towards like information science, but if things are if materials and resources are spread out, putting them into a table, putting them into a database, and kind of like making things more searchable. Just data science can be used just to make tools like I believe Ayana brought up earlier, like, you know, apps. There are, if you guys have any apps or anything that you want to talk to us about too, we can flesh those out, because that is also data science. That is kind of seeing a problem, and coming up with some sort of tool that other people can use to solve another problem.
Yeah. And something that my experience with data has been from the side of quality. So I've always had the eye, well, let me find a pattern or trend. So maybe with homelessness, maybe just kind of getting some characteristics about people that are homeless to see what's in their background, where have they been, kind of segment them into different groups that to understand what led them through homelessness, and what was the point that got them there, and then try to rectify that to be proactive with people who have some similar attributes. So just a thought. All right.
Another thing I think is interesting about the homelessness piece, I saw an article a few weeks ago where someone was using census data, and I forgot the other data source, but they were predicting spikes of homelessness by looking at areas that had spikes of certain industries like tech and energy, because, you know, as you know, once an area has these industries come in, they're higher paying jobs, but there are, you know, a much lower number of people who are able to apply for those jobs. So you'll see homelessness spike. So it's not even just always the people, it's looking at what other attributes in the area.
That's good.
Even that could be, that's a predictive model as well. If you can predict when homelessness is going to happen, like a certain area, then you could divert all of your resources toward I'm sorry, I'm a huge advocate for data science. It's I think it's the most fun thing to do. If I could do it all day, which I do, I will do it all day.
All right. I think we should take one more. I see food insecurity, food deserts. Any thoughts on that one?
So I can actually give one about that. So there's an organization called Centers for New York City Neighborhoods. They're a nonprofit that is focused on finding healthy housing and healthy food for vulnerable populations in the 5 boroughs of New York City. So I worked on a project with them for them to identify any significant difference in health attributes and what they call healthy housing for Hispanic and Black populations in New York City. And essentially what they were able to do from the analysis that I gave them was create their own underwriting for Black and Brown applicants for loans and mortgage fees, and one other thing. But then also what they did was they were able to map out where they were not going to have bodegas, instead where there were going to be healthy food markets instead of bodegas, because we found that the areas that had bodegas, there was a 27% increase in diabetes, hypertension, and deaths from liver related diseases. So I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, not the bad part of it, but it was cool that they were able to kind of
make that conclusion,
some of that, and start putting in some community resources for that.
That is amazing. I just want to say that's amazing. I know I work with you, but I'm always impressed by Anna. So
thank you.
I'm going to chime in on the one on cancer, because in my family, my mother's parents, my grandparents, they had 11 children, and all of the females died of some form of cancer. And there were 7 boys, 3 of them are still living. 4 of them have had cancer. And a common data point that my sister and a cousin, they're medical doctors, and we've kind of looked at this. They have cousins too that have had it. We, for our family, kind of are leaning towards a location where they were living, water that they had access to, just because of the number of people from that area who have had it. So now, how do we, I guess on the flip side of that, curing it, is now, if there's a way to be more proactive about what you have access to. This is just one model, but what in the environment? I think this was an environmental thing. And partially probably because of our DNA disposition could be involved as well. But if there's some things that you can proactively do for your environment to minimize the likelihood of getting it, that's kind of the angle that we have taken with that. So that sparked the interest for our family to be like, let's kind of do our own research and see what data points are there. What can we understand about ourselves, and how can we be proactive by letting other people in the family know, about our history, our family history, which is data, our medical history. Awesome. All right, so I'm going to wrap up. And if you want to ask any questions, I do see a number of people who have chimed in. I'm going to go ahead and wrap up, and I'll shut down for tonight. But if you are on, if you joined after we got started, if I don't have your email address, if you did not actually go through the registration from yesterday or today, please put your email address in the chat so that we can send you the official registration for the camp. The camp is July 24th through August the 6th, and we have an official registration site, which is an Eventbrite page. It's different from the one that you use for this session. We're going to send out a different one that's going to ask for a lot more information around names, schools. It's just a lot more detail that we're going to need so that we can effectively plan and be able to make sure you get the information that we need for planning the camp. All right. Yep, I do see people dropping those in there. Great. Excellent. Excellent. And did we have any other questions from anyone who joined the call on next steps or what to expect? All right. Well, that's all for tonight. I'll stick around for a minute. I'll stop the recording, and we'll wait. We'll stick around for a few more minutes just in case there's some people who want to chat with us after everything is ended. Thank you for coming. I'm looking forward to working with you each. I will say that this is a limited number. So if you're interested in participating, go ahead and get your registration in quickly. I want to actually have them all in by Monday. So we'll be sending out tonight or tomorrow morning. And please go ahead and fill that out and turn it around to us by Monday so that we can go ahead and get a head count on how many people plan to participate. Thank you and have a great evening.
Sounds good. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you.